Hi, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Disney with the Ducks podcast. I am a co-host, Carly Positano, joined by my husband, Jeff Positano. We've got Lonnie G, we've got John Crawl, we've got Jean, and we have Kevin. And we are the Disney Ducks. This whole craziness started marathon weekend. We all happened to fatefully meet up in the 5K race corral and started talking. And then, John joined in for the marathon race. And then it was an everyday conversation every morning when you get up at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning and you end up in race corrals together. You're exhausted and tired, but you keep talking to get yourself through the tired and the anxiety and the stress and the excitement of the race. And so that's how we came to be. I was telling all of the guys before we came on here that I would get emotional and maybe, but you talk all of those days every morning and then spend some time together in the parks afterwards. And you've got all these great memories of talking on the race course. And we'll get into that in later episodes, so I don't want to spoil too much. But you come home and not only do you have the Disney blues because you're, missing all of the fun Disney and the nice weather, but you're also now missing all of these people who have become daily, monuments in your everyday life. And yes, we text and all of that, but it wasn't the same as talking in person. And so we randomly came up with this idea to start a podcast. So this is episode 0. Welcome to the Disney with the Ducks, and we'll see where it goes. I feel like we've got some cool things up ready to go, but I think that the name needs to be explained a little bit because we're not talking the cute little mallard ducks that walk around in the parks. We are something completely different. John, you want to kind of throw out the idea of where we came up with the name?
Yeah, so the name comes from the marathon race during the Run Disney Marathon weekend. As Carly mentioned, we were all running the marathon together. We started off together and decided, we're going to stick together the whole race. And we were doing that. We came up to around mile 3, and there was a Darkwing Duck character. And I made a comment to the group that, man, every time I see that character and hear the song DuckTales, I immediately have to go, woohoo! And so Jeff heard me say that and made a comment that, you know what, that should be our interval call out because we were running 30-second walk run intervals. So we started doing that. And Ben, our leader of the group, he called out DuckTales and all there were 6 other of us would yell out, woohoo! And that happened every 60 seconds for the next 6 hours. So we made that last 23 miles of this race. And what we thought was just going to be a quick joke that was going to last for, 5 or 10 minutes ended up being, around 375 times or so. And so people all along the course got to hear us every 60 seconds yell out, woohoo! In response to Ben's DuckTales. So it was, it really made the race, I think, fun for a lot of people. And probably annoying for some, but fun for us for sure.
The story. I mean, I have now, Jeff was calling me during throughout the race and having live video, and he'd be talking and all of a sudden he'd like stop talking and just go, woohoo! I was like, what are you doing? And I think you found a video of someone else posted on YouTube where you guys are running the marathon and you can hear DuckTales, woohoo, throughout. So it became a thing.
And we brought other people into the group throughout the race that would stay with us for a mile or so, and they would get into it and call out woohoo with us. So I think it really brought a lot of joy to a lot of folks over those 20 some odd miles.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the people that were active, like running with us. There were times where I know I heard 40 people say woohoo, and for miles at a time. That might have just been just a marathon deliriousness. I don't know, but that's kind of what it seemed like at times.
definitely. We needed that at some of those times because we got a little quiet on some of those back miles, and those other people picking up the woohoos helped to carry us along too, just as much as we help.
For
the
sure.
other.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So why don't we have a little bit of history from each of us, to kind of where we come from, what are our backgrounds, what are our Disney backgrounds, and why did we decide to do this? So do you want to start, Lonnie, with maybe just a brief overview of your history?
Sure. So, it goes back to 2016. I think I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about a Run Disney event, and it was the dark side coming to Disney World. And I remember calling Gene, my friend here, and I said, "Hey, Gene, you love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. There is a Star Wars race coming up in Disney World, and we should do it." And Gene was like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm in."
Wait, time out. First,
What?
you got to know that. So I've run for a little while, just very casually, but up until this point, how much running did you normally do, Lonnie?
I did no running. In fact, I ran to the refrigerator and
Yeah.
back. That
Lonnie
was
said if I'm running, I'm either running towards a biscuit or away from
somebody
bear,
chasing me for
something.
that.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, right? I told him. He's like, and Gene was like, "Man, you don't run." And I'm like, "Man, look, I know I don't, but they said you're gonna have some cool medals. We have some Star Wars stuff. Let's do it." And he says, "Well, what distance are we gonna run?" And I'm like, "All of it, man. We're gonna do it." Sign up for the challenge, man. And that was my first introduction to registration at Run Disney, and started that. And literally, it was pandemonium trying to register for the first time, because that was back during the Hunger Games times when you would. I remember telling Gene, I said, "Okay, I'm going to get on. Registration opened at 9. I'll hop on around 10 or so." But just so happened I was in front of the computer at 9 and got on, and I just watched as all the spots were getting taken. They used to have the old line that used to go across the screen, the scroll, let you know that it was full. And I remember calling Gene. It's like, "Dude, you got to get on now." I said, it is filling up. And I got in. I think it was at 99%, and I finally got in. And Gene, unfortunately, didn't get in, but he ended up joining another group to get a bib to do it. So started there and just been hooked ever since. We had a blast. We ran all the races. We ate all the snacks, all the crow nuts, did everything, and I've been going back since. So I think from there went on to Wine and Dine and a bunch of other races, and that's just my thing now.
Gotcha. So do you run other places or just Disney?
I run other places only to get ready for a Disney race.
Okay.
So if it's training, I'm like, okay, so we needed a proof of time. Gene said, "Hey man, why don't you come down here and run to get your proof of time?" Okay, I'll come run for the proof of time. Other than that, I don't run.
So were you a Disney family before the first races, Lonnie, or did the races make
Star
you a
Wars?
Disney family?
My first trip to Disney was actually before that. I bought my son and my daughter, and my wife. My son was 6, my daughter was 3 at the time, and we really liked it. I tell you, we're like, you know what, we need to do this more often. So, it's one of those we'll do every couple of year trip things, and then after Star Wars, it just started to ramp up, and now we're DVC. We go a couple of times a year. I've ran in every park with the exception of Hong Kong and Shanghai. So I ran the Disneyland Paris races. I ran the back when they had the Kessel Run, when we had the races in Anaheim. I ran those. So it's just continually evolving to I need Disney every so often.
Nice.
Yeah. I can't get Gene to go to the other races. Tried to get him to go do to Anaheim. He turned me down, flat up, just wouldn't do it. I said, "Dude, we did a special medal that looks like Millennium Falcon." He was like, "Yeah, no." So I have to do it myself. I'm just saying. I'm not putting any peer pressure on him.
No pressure, but lots of pressure.
No pressure,
Right,
Gene.
exactly. No pressure.
I wasn't angry, just disappointed.
Oh, I've heard that before. I don't like those disappointed Lonnie things.
That'll come out in a future
At all.
episode too, because there's a story with that one too. What about you,
Okay.
Kevin? What's your history?
So my history is very similar to Lonnie's. I ran cross country in high school and ran as punishment for baseball. Then back in 2016, I decided Star Wars got me in as well, just like Lonnie. I saw that the race was coming out and signed up for it. Went and ran it by myself. It was a good race. Then the next, I said, well, that was my first half marathon. So then after that, I thought, well, I want to see if I can go even further because I'm very competitive with myself. So first I signed up for the 2017 marathon. I got through that one. I ran it solo. That was very painful. Then I signed up. I said, well, what more can I do? So I decided I would try Dopey. So I tried Dopey in 2018, finished Dopey solo, except for the final race.
Oh my gosh.
I ran maybe half a mile with somebody that I'd met in the corrals.
Wow.
And started learning how it's not about the miles. It's about the camaraderie. And that's what gets you through the miles,
Mhm.
just like this group. So then 2020, I found another group, the Lizards, that kind of got us all together. I ran with them in the marathon. They dragged me across the finish line. So after that, after getting across that finish line, my goal was to help others get across the finish line. And
Mhm.
it brought so much more joy to my life I watched Kroll across his finish line that marathon Sunday. That made my year. I mean, that was so awesome to see. I got to see Chad cross get his first marathon. So really that's it. I've been a Disney fan my whole life. My first trip was in 1989. I'm a huge Figment fan. That was my first character experience at Epcot. So, so I try to go to Disney maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So
Does the family feel the same way?
they do. I can't get them to run with me. I have 2 boys, 7 and 8. They did the kids races at ESPN. All the way back at the Diaper Dash. It was 100-meter where they got to give Mickey a high five at the finish line, which was
Oh.
scary for one and exciting for the other. But now they've both kind of grown into it. We graduated to the mile. Today I actually did a 4-miler with my oldest, so that was a big deal. So
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. All right, who's up next?
I can go.
All right.
Yeah, so we started going to Disney around 2015. We thought, it's going to be a one-time thing. Our oldest daughter was 6. Our son was 3 at the time, and we only had the 2. So we took him down. It was fun. We had a good time. We have some food issues in our family. So one of the things that drew us in was Disney is very accommodating for like food allergies or celiac disease, anything like that. So we figured, you know what, we're going to keep going back because Kara can eat here with no issues. And it just was a very comfortable thing for us. Well, fast forward a few years and all of a sudden we bought DVC and now we're going 2-3 times a year. And it's just become this obsession, right? Where we just love all things Disney. And then I discovered the Lizards, maybe like 2018 or so, right after I got into running. And that kind of brought in 2 new things that I was obsessed with into one awesome, Run Disney thing. And that's what kind of brought me to Marathon Weekend, where we ended up all meeting. I had done my first Run Disney race was Princess in 2019. I did the 5K with my oldest daughter and my oldest son. And that was quite an experience because he had pneumonia and we didn't know it at the time. And my daughter's very competitive. So the whole race, she's yelling at him, Caleb, come on, you got to run faster. We're not going to get our time. So at one point, I ended up carrying him for the last like half mile. And I've got, at the time he was like 6, I've got this giant 6-year-old on my back. And the pictures are just me just so angry and sweaty. And, looking back on it, it's hilarious. But at the time, it's just, what are you doing, kid? And then we found out he had pneumonia. So we're like, felt really bad about making him run. But then the next year I did Princess Half Marathon, and just running up Main Street was one of the best experiences I'd had, running or otherwise, right? It was just beautiful. You go into the park and it was dark at the time because it was only a few miles into the race. So the castle was lit up, all awesome looking. And just seeing all the people on Main Street. And that's what really got me hooked into Run Disney. And I knew I was going to want to do more. and then just listening to the Be Our Guest podcast with Mike Rallman. And I remember he made a comment in one of the shows about, once you're a marathoner, you're always a marathoner. Nobody's ever going to be able to take that away from you. And that was, I think, all the motivation I needed to finally say, you know what, I'm going to take that next step and sign up for a marathon. And so this marathon was 2 years in the making, basically, because of COVID and injuries and everything else. So yeah, that's kind of how I got here.
And you guys have a trip coming up, right?
We do, yeah. About 2 weeks from now, we'll be in Disney. So yeah, it's
Nice.
going to be awesome. Yeah, we're very excited.
Anything in particular you're like super looking forward to?
All of it, everything. One of the
Not
things
having to run.
Yeah, not having to
Exactly.
run.
Sleeping until 7.
Yeah.
Right?
Sleeping in. No, my daughter wants to run around Crescent Lake because we're staying at Beach Club, so she wants to go for a run a couple mornings. So I'm looking forward to that with her. And then, just being there with the kids and family time. And this will be our youngest son's first trip. So he's 3 months old. So he'll be 4 months old right before we go. So it'll be his first trip. So that'll be cool. I mean, he won't remember it, but yeah,
No, but
it's for us. It's not for him.
Exactly.
Nice.
Right.
All right, Gene, you're up.
I'm up. So Lonnie shared a little bit about my story. Lonnie is, I like to affectionately call Lonnie a Dis nerd. And, I think it's a funny way to say it, but he loves Disney. I love Disney too. Not quite in the same way. My experience with Disney growing up, I went once on a high school, like a church trip. We went for a day to Magic Kingdom. And then I didn't go again until my family went. We went on a week-long trip with a couple other families, and we had a great experience. And then we went a couple more times with the kids, and then Lonnie asked me to run, and so much fun. And it sort of changed things for me. We go regularly as a family, not regularly, I wouldn't say, and not even as a family, I would say. My daughter cheers. My daughter cheers competitively, and we have gone as a family when they have a national competition. My wife has been the last couple of years. If she makes it this year, I think the understanding is that Lonnie and I are supposed to take her because my wife doesn't want to go. But Run Disney kind of changed things for me. So there's a little aspect of kind of what everybody else shared. When Lonnie asked me if I wanted to go and run this, I'd never run a half marathon distance before. And I thought it was absolutely silly that he wanted to do a 10K and a half marathon back to back. And he told me about Dopey, and I was like, that's the dopiest thing I've ever heard of. Only an idiot would do that. And so we did the race, and it was a lot of fun. As you know, Lonnie likes people. He's a people person. I thought I was an extrovert until, I got real close to Lonnie 20 years ago, and realized that I pale in comparison to Lonnie. So everything is just, I always meet even more people than I would normally meet when I'm with Lonnie. I get involved in the Lizards through Lonnie. He told me, he said, there's a running club. I said, what? It's a virtual running club. It's on Facebook. How's there a running club on Facebook? I just had no comprehension. And it was cool. It was motivating. And then I got to the event, and there were get-togethers, and got a chance to meet some people that I've seen at, races since then. And then Kevin was talking about just the satisfaction, just being able to help somebody else kind of do the races. Whenever Lonnie asked me to do Dopey, and I affectionately say that Lonnie twisted my arm and forced my hand. He didn't really, but talked me into going to do Dopey the first time. I trained, and I was really happy to do it. Never thought I would want to do it again. But there was a lizard that was not trained up, sort of like me this time, that needed a little bit of help, and Lonnie and I were able to help her out. And it was just, it was motivating for me to finish myself, but it also helped encourage me along and helped keep my motivation up, being able to help somebody else along. It was really neat to see. It actually wasn't her first Dopey, but it was mine. I tell the story that I'd heard before that running a marathon, to prepare in different ways. And one of the ways you need to prepare is emotionally. And I just, as I'm running through this, I was like, I was talking to her and I said, I don't really get it. You know, I don't feel, you know, I'm an emotional person. I don't feel very emotional about this. You know, it's a race. We're running, we're having fun. And she said, yeah, I thought that too. Somebody told me at one point, once you cross the finish line, if you never run another step, you know, you'll always be a marathoner. And I thought, oh yeah, that's cool. She said, yeah, when I crossed the finish line, I got, you know, it kind of hit me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. That's, you know, I don't feel that. And we're running along and somebody had a sign at some point that said, you know, in 2 miles or 6 miles or 0.2 miles or whatever, you'll be a marathon. You'll always be a marathoner from now on. And when I saw that sign, it's just like, it hit me right smack in between the eyes, you know, like a ton of bricks. And it just like, wow, this really is a thing. You know, where this is a big deal. We crossed the finish line. I was a little emotional, but no big deal. Then my wife,
Dude, you wept.
wait, no. So then my wife, who's not real flowery, it was my birthday, and she texted me. My phone was giving me problems. I wasn't able to really communicate with her because it wasn't holding charge, and so I didn't really
Heard that story before.
Yeah, didn't really operate the phone, you know, much during the race. But afterwards, I still had a little juice, and she said, "Hey, send me a picture with your medals." So I sent her a picture of them with the medals, and she put a post on Facebook that talked about how proud she was of me, and, you know, happy birthday and all that. And so we're sitting in the bus, you know, after our bananas and our Oreos and, you know, the saltiest nacho cheese you've ever eaten, you know. We're sitting in the bus, and Lonnie looks over and he's like, "Dude, why are you crying, man?" I said, shut up, man. Just shut up. I was reading her post, and that's when it kind of hit me. But for me, you know, I thought, I don't need to do this again. I've done it once. And then Lonnie asked him, like, yeah, sure. He asked me a couple of years ago, the great heat wave of, I guess, 20. I was trained, but we had a family situation. I was not able to go. And so we're making it up this time. And I said, you know, I'm going to do this, and I probably don't need to do it again. And I might or might not have thought, you know, during the race, maybe I got another one in me. I don't know. We'll see.
If you're thinking about it during the race, you're definitely in.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's usually a several week out process before you think maybe I want to try this again. But if your mindset is already during that this isn't so bad, you're in for sure, man.
And this I didn't grow up running. I was you know, fat boy. I played football. Running was always punishment. I never ran 5 miles till I was 35 years old. I do run, you know, casually, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 miles, whatever. If I'm just for health, but this is it's an event, it's an organization, it's a thing that you do that, man, it's just when I get to meet, you know, people like y'all, you know, I mean, it just makes it so much better. It's always such a good experience, and I've left every race just thinking, man, what, you know, I'm so glad I did it. I never look back and say, well, I shouldn't have done that. I was stupid. You know, I didn't enjoy that. I mean, yeah, it's hard, but things in life that are valuable, things that are in life that mean something to you, they always are, you know?
That's right.
Well said.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, but my story kind of ties into yours.
Well, start yourself then.
So I don't know. I feel like Disney and running are two different beasts for me. Disney has always been a love. I used to go on vacations with my parents every year. We would go, you know, in January when it was freezing cold in Ohio. We'd end up in Florida, and we always ended up, even if we didn't plan to go to Disney, we ended up at Disney. And I don't remember a whole lot from my young trips at Disney, but I remember, you know, the Swan and Dolphin Hotel. It's where my mom always wanted to stay. And I still haven't stayed there, but I just remember that it felt magical. So then fast forward, Jeff and I meet, we get married, and that was part of our honeymoon. We were just going to go to Florida, and we were going to stay in a hotel. We got married on a cruise down there, and on our way home, we were going to go to Biltmore House in North Carolina. And we were like, we'll just stay a night in, you know, the Orlando area, maybe hit downtown Disney, because that's what it was back then. And then I was like, but we're so close. Like, I can't be here and not at least see the Magic Kingdom. We've got to go to Magic Kingdom. It was excruciatingly hot in June of 2005. I remember a lot of sweat and grossness and not feeling very attractive on my honeymoon, but it was still Disney and I loved it. And then I'm a teacher, so the only time I can go to Disney is in the summer. And well, that's what I thought because I'd never flown before. I've always been terrified of flying. So when Riley was little, she was about a year and a half old. His parents were like, we're gonna take everybody to Disney for Christmas. Like we're gonna do it. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to get some time off work so that we can drive down. They're like, honey, you're gonna have to fly. Oh gosh. But I'm like, okay, it's for my daughter. I want to go to Disney. It's Disney. I will not fly for anything but Disney. So we got on the plane and went, and we have gone back, I would say every year, but maybe one, to Disney with her. And it's been a different experience every time. Different every single time. One year she loves all the characters. The next year she loves, the little kid rides. And then she's like, ooh, I want to do all the coasters except Rock and Roller Coaster. So it's super fun. She's addicted to Disney. She follows all the Disney news on social media every day and usually sends me about 300 or 400, 700 text messages telling me all the new stuff that's out and the new merchandise that she wants and all of that craziness. So that was like a love for me well before running. And I still don't think running is a love. Jeff and I both tried to get healthy a few years ago, started our whole journey, lost a lot of weight. And Jeff was always a runner. So he was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to run. And I watch him a few times and I'm like, I can do that. Come back, he's like, oh my gosh, I just ran 3 miles and I am so tired. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I can do that in my car in like 3 minutes. Not a big deal. So I started like Couch to 5K and that was awful. And then we switched to the Galloway method of run walk. And I started, running with him and we would do a few races, but nothing was super exciting. I did a 5K. We dressed up in outfits. That's the only reason I did it. I was dressed like a flamingo. It was great. But that's the only reason I did it. And I said, well, I run for the bling. Well, then you start looking at Disney bling and you're like, wow, I mean, those are nice. So Jeff said, hey, there's, Star Wars weekend. We should go down for the races. Yes, let's do it. We all love Star Wars. My daughter was going to do it. She doesn't run at all. We had costumes picked out. I mean, we were ready. And that was the year that COVID hit and they shut the races down. So I think we were like a week or 2 away from leaving.
It was about a month.
Maybe
this is March and
3 weeks.
Their April races. So
3 weeks from leaving.
We were fully trained and ready to run.
So it was like, okay, fine. So then we signed up for Wine and Dine. Okay, you know what? Fine. They'll give us a little more time.
By November.
We did all of these Star Wars races virtually. That was my very first half marathon, was a virtual Run Disney Star Wars race. And I still remember like out on the trail and we got back to the car and I put the medal on. I was like, I'm not taking this off all day. And just, taking pictures because it's COVID, so you can't see other people. But then we signed up for Wine and Dine and that got canceled. So we signed up for Topi and that got canceled. And so it was just race after race after race got canceled. And it ended up our very first in-person Run Disney race was Marathon Weekend 22. And I mean, I literally went to the corrals every morning thinking it's not happening. I'm here, but I'm going to meet those balloon ladies. It is not happening. And he had made me promise whatever race you start, the next day you start the next one. If you finish one, then the next day you start the next. And I was like, that's fair enough. I'll at least get, the 5K. I've got that. And then I'll at least get the 10K medal because I'll have started it. And all of these humans that are on the screen, I kept pushing and, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great. And now it's like, I really want to do more Run Disney races. Like we're going to Disney in July, but I'm like, ooh, are all of our Duck family members going to be down there? Or can we convince anybody else to go in July? And then, Lonnie's talking about the springtime race. And I'm like, oh, I want to go so bad. Just because I want to see the people. I really don't care about the races. I mean, the bling is nice, but it's the people and those connections that you make that are completely unexpected. And we do that everywhere at Disney. I feel like that's just a thing. You could be waiting in a line for a ride. And I mean, this guy all talked to a concrete block wall. So we end up meeting random people. We did it at the expo. We met the two most incredible people originally from Scotland. They now live in Texas. And I was like, oh my God, I love their accent. And then Jeff was like, well, let's start talking to him. So he starts talking and I'm like, oh, I just love your accent. And now we're Facebook friends and Instagram pals.
Well, that's why we like Gene too. Gene's accent too. We got
right.
There's a connection there for us.
So,
What accent?
Are we the ones with the accent?
I don't hear it either.
I know, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
Kevin's the one with accent.
But that's, I mean, you can see that Run Disney really, that brought the group together. But the podcast and what we're doing is going to be more than just the Run Disney side. There's so much more to this. We all have the love of all of it. So we're going to talk about the Run Disney aspects for sure, the race weekends, the training, all that stuff. You're going to get recaps from all that. But you're also going to get stuff about the parks. You're going to get stuff about Disney Plus. I mean, we got a lot of great things going on with that.
And actually, DVC, I think, Lonnie, it was you were like, we should start a DVC podcast, because between you and Jeff and some others, John in the group, we've got tons of DVC knowledge. So
Did you say DVC? I thought I'm on the wrong podcast. I thought Lonnie said QVC.
Shopping network?
Yeah.
We'll call them for sponsorships. And then we'll see what we can do
There
there.
we go.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Jeff. I mean, there's so many topics that revolve around Disney. I mean, even from cruises to the parks to just general meeting up for races and just the friendship and camaraderie that comes from it. It's just, it's just how can you just kind of just pigeonhole yourself in one subject when there's so much stuff about Disney. And that's not even talking about the park that shall not be named, if anybody's so it's and then we have to put up with Gene. There you go.
You said pigeon-toed. I just want to remind you of that. I just want to point that out, and you're never going to live that down. Pigeon-toed.
Pigeon have toes, maybe. Not as anything. I mean, because there is a word that we can say with you too, right? So we're not going to go there, but. So I told my wife about your breaking out the thesaurus for the races. She laughed.
So I don't even remember. Was it the 5K?
He used it 5K, 10K. I think he tried to 5.5, but it didn't work.
I think I posted on Facebook several things that include the word nefarious now, because I just love it. It's a nice ACT, SAT word. I was teaching my students at school the other day about nefarious, and it all came from crazy conversation on the race course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I mean, this podcast is also now educational. We're going to teach all of these fantastic ACT, SAT 10-point vocab words.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to add value. You know what I mean?
You got to do what you can do.
I've got a lot of good vocab words I can teach the children as well. So.
Are they
no.
more than 4 letters?
No, unless you add an S to the end of it. I can share some videos of my 3-year-old. It'll be great.
So I think since we are duck themed, and I think since we are Disney themed, we have to add a little educational and fun value tonight. And I believe we agreed to end this evening's podcast with what I hope becomes a regular skit, quacking up with the ducks, because I am surrounded currently by 5 dad joke lovers. I mean, John, you've got a whole tin full of dad jokes on cards that I think should be outlawed. But Jeff follows all of these awful.
They're not awful.
They are. They're dad joke sites, and I don't know if it's Pinterest or Instagram or he makes it up and just has friends that are weird.
It's true comedic magic.
But I think that's how we agreed to end the show today, with quacking up with the ducks. So I'm going to leave it to the gentlemen in the group, since you guys are the pros.
All right, I've got a good one. Why does a chicken coop only have 2 doors?
Why?
Why?
If it had 4 doors, it would be a chicken sedan.
I need that noise. I need to make a soundboard.
The rimshot soundboard.
I think I said mine when I said pigeon-toed, when I meant pigeonhole. So,
I love it. Yeah. Hey, you know, Lonnie accused me of stealing his thesaurus. I was dismayed, dumbfounded, appalled, and flummoxed.
I know you're dying to tell one.
Actually, before I got into running, I had a kind of a rough stretch in life. So I got addicted to seaweed, and people told me I needed to really seek help.
Nice.
nice.
I'm just hoping we get it out of the system so I don't have to listen to it for the rest
No,
of the
every
evening.
week, every podcast.
Yep.
Every time.
It's become such a terrible thing at home that Riley says now, our daughter says, I don't even know if you're being serious or if this is just going to be another dad joke whenever he starts speaking.
You got any good ones, Kevin? Or are we going to pick you up in the next round?
I've got one. So, did you hear the one about the duck who thought he was a squirrel?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
That was one tough nut to quack.
I'm going to laugh at that one because it's duck themed.
Yeah, it's bad. I know.
So bad, it's good though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So I think we've covered all we came here to cover tonight on episode 0. I think we have lots of really great ideas in the hopper. We are really trying to come up with some cool stuff. I know there are tons and tons of Disney podcasts that people can listen to between all of the podcast catchers and all of the online video platforms. But I think we definitely bring an original spin on all of the ideas that maybe have already happened. I mean, everybody talks about resorts, but I think we're definitely going to have something original to say that maybe you're not hearing other places. So please make sure that you subscribe and like the video on YouTube. Spread the word for us. We are on Facebook, Disney with the Ducks. We are on Instagram at Disney with the Ducks. And am I forgetting anything else?
Nope, you see our YouTube channel already. So
There we are.
We're on MySpace. We'll have a TikTok soon. We'll have a Tinder with the Ducks. It'll be all over, you know?
that's the Ducks After Dark. That's a different channel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, so many jokes there.
All right. On that note, if you made it this far into episode 0, we appreciate it. We might not see you on episode 1.
Swipe right.
All right. On behalf of myself and all of my amazing co-hosts and the ones who couldn't be here today, but they will kind of spring up out of nowhere on some future episodes, we thank you for listening, and we will see you later.
See you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, guys.
How are we starting this thing?
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Duck Tales with the Ducks. Disney with the Ducks.
How many Kevins can we have?
We have multiple Kevin.
Oh,
Kevin has cloned himself. This is
I got rid of the wrong Kevin.
No, put it back. Put it back.
Oh, Carly, you
I
eliminated
don't know
him.
what I'm doing.
All right.
We were playing Trivial Pursuit, and every time they rolled, it was always on roll again. So it's, and now we roll again, and then we roll again, and now what do? We roll again. There's a lot of Pepe in Trivial Pursuit.
I think that we need to have a segment called Gene's on the Move, and he can just take us to new places every time.
Hey man, where is AB?
Where in the world is Gene podcasting from?
So,
Just an hour.
I got the document you sent. I'm trying. It's printed really small, so I need to really look at it. But okay, so okay, I can't read this. I will make it
That's
bigger.
because Gene stole your thesaurus.
If you leave it on the computer screen and you zoom in,
Like that. Pinch.
I'm like,
Back,
Lonnie, do you tell the truth? Do you print out all your emails?
usually I usually print them out.
Deletes?
Trees have died.